Hi, church family. I thought I'd take a little bit of time right now to tell you about the Lord's Supper. So many of you have come from different churches, and perhaps you're a brand new believer. But you've brought with you different ideas and different understandings that you bring to the communion rail every Sunday when we come together and gather around this sacrament. So I want to take just a few moments and explain to you what is our belief on Holy Communion or the Lord's Supper. Now, anytime that you want to get at you ask the question, what does St. George's believe? The answers are always going to be rooted in two things. First of all, we're a church, and so we look to the Bible. Secondly, we are an Anglican church, and so a lot of the answers to those questions will be found in the Book of Common Prayer, in the 39 Articles of Religion in particular. I'm going to get into that in a moment, but perhaps it would be most helpful if I just set out a bit of a model for you to think about the Lord's Supper. Different Christian traditions think about the Lord's Supper in different ways. Think about it like a continuum. Okay, at one end, you have the Roman Catholic view of Holy Communion. This is commonly referred to as transubstantiation. Okay? In transubstantiation, the Roman Catholic view, they believe that a miracle takes place at the Lord's table, that the miracle takes place in the substance of the bread and the wine. That the bread and the wine themselves actually in their substance change to become the very body and blood of Christ. Okay, that's the Roman Catholic view. At the opposite end of the spectrum, you have a memorial view. And this is something that would be, it was commonly put forward by a reformer named Zwingli. It would be the typical position of most non-denominational and some evangelical churches. This is what they would hold. They would hold that there is no miracle per se. Instead, it's in the practice of the Lord's Supper that Christians are called to do this, as Jesus said, in remembrance of me. And so it's a remembrance. Okay, those are the two extremes of the two different views of the Lord's Supper. Now, let's start filling these in, okay? The next one along the continuum going this way would be the Lutheran view. And in the Lutheran view, they do not believe in transubstantiation. They believe in something slightly different called consubstantiation. Lutherans believe that there is a miracle that takes place, but that the miracle does not take place in the substance of the bread and wine, making it into the body and blood of Christ, but instead they would believe that it happens above, below, around the elements. So think of it as more of a metaphysical change. So Luther famously said something like, well, it tastes like bread and wine to me. But he still believed that a miracle took place where these elements, around these elements, became the body and blood of Christ. And then you come to our classically Reformed position. And this is what we as inheritors of the English Reformation believe. We believe that a miracle does take place at the Lord's Supper. It is more than merely remembrance, but what's critically important and makes our position distinct from, say, consubstantiation and transubstantiation is that while we all believe that a miracle takes place, the classically Reformed or Anglican position would say you have to be very careful about the locus of the miracle. Where does that miracle take place? So in the transubstantive model, the miracle takes place in the substance of the elements themselves. The elements change to the body and blood of Christ. In the consubstantiation model, the miracle is metaphysical or round somehow in a spiritual way. However, in the Reformed position, the Anglican position, We believe that the miracle takes place in the heart of the believer when the elements are received by faith. Now, I know that this is a little bit of a nuanced position, but let me just drill into this for a moment from the prayer book. So in our order for Holy Communion, the words of administration, when the person is given the bread, Cranmer wrote, and he said, "Feed on him in your hearts by faith and with thanksgiving." He was saying that the miracle takes place in the heart of the believer. It becomes to them the body and blood of Christ when they receive it by faith. Not a change in the substance of the elements, not a metaphysical change in and around and over and through, but more than just a remembrance. There's a miracle that takes place in the heart of the believer. Further, I believe it's Article 24. I'll pull out my prayer book. In Article 24, Cranmer's talking about those who receive the Lord's Supper unworthily. And he says, I paraphrase, he says something to the effect of, it's Article 24. Yeah. He says that it's possible for the wicked who are void of lively faith to carnally and visibly press the bread with their teeth, but to receive no benefit from it. In fact, they eat and drink condemnation upon themselves. And so the point is that this is a simple view of our understanding of the Lord's Supper. When you come forward to receive the Lord's Supper every week, and you receive by faith, a miracle takes place in your heart where it becomes to you the body and blood of Christ that nourishes you and feeds you and strengthens you in your faith by joining you in communion.